And they did their thing, and it turned out as perfect as I imagined it. The quality of it is beautiful. It's amazing. It is beautiful. They were efficient. They were trustworthy. The recommendations were unquestionable, and they were going to do exactly what I wanted. I had a lovely experience.
Start your remodel today by visiting 3daykitchen.com.
At 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
This is the Verizon Extra Innings Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
Second off the bat of Pajes. Alexander throws him out, and this ballgame has come to an end. The final score, the Diamondbacks over the Cardinals, 10-1.
That was the final score tonight. Welcome into the Extra Innings Show. It is presented by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Joe Pott with you here in our KMOX studios as the Cardinals have another rough game in Arizona tonight and another tough start by a starting pitcher. Want to talk about it? Get in 314-436-7900. Easier still, jump on the socials, YouTube, Facebook, X, and we are right there on the live stream. You can drop your comment right there on the live stream. I will see it. I can talk about it. So you can react to whatever you would like. Tough start to the post-All-Star break part of this schedule for the Redbirds. No question of it. And now the starter that you feel most confident about sending out there to the mound has a stinker tonight in Sonny Gray. And that's not it's not to say that it's not going to have a bad night now and then, but you just don't think of Sonny Gray in a game like tonight. And we talked about in the pregame show that he's been a stopper. The Cardinals have I think it was I don't know what it is, 10-2 record. I'd have to go look now. When he starts after a loss, something to that effect. They're 15-4. They were 15-4. They're now 15-5 overall this year when Sonny Gray starts. And that record, when he starts after a loss, that was actually over the last 2 years. So he's been really good over the last 2 years following a Cardinals loss. He's been that guy that has been in that stopper role, whether it's stopping a streak or stopping a streak from happening. Then it has been Sonny Gray. So again, if you want to get in, 314-436-7900. I do see a comment about the video stream. I do think we're up and running, though. It appears that we are up and running on the video stream. So find us on the socials, and you can drop your comment right there, and we can talk about it. The other thing, obviously, that is the kind of trend from the first two games here is this lack of Cardinals offense, which is not necessarily it's not just from these first two games here after the break, but it has happened in each of the first two games after the break where, as I've said before, this Cardinals team, I think ideally offensively, it's never going to be one, and not never, but it's never going to be consistently one that's going to outslug you, that's going to homer you, that's going to bash the ball around. That's just not the way they're built. But what it is going to be when it is ideal, when it is playing like it can and like it should, and like when it's playing at its best, clicking on all cylinders, whatever cliche you want to drop in there, it is a team that can be relentless. It is a team that will base hit you to death. Throw in a double there, throw in a couple of extra base hits, but they can string together offense, and that's what we've seen when they have been when they've been good. And when the offense has been good, that's the way it has been good, is stringing together a couple of hits here and there, maybe getting the big hit. But they haven't done that the last two nights. They did it in the ninth inning last night. They put together a few hits, got the home run, scored some runs, but just not anything consistently. And that's been the theme all year long. And that's what one of our texters or commenter here says: the Cardinals not looking good. 10 games, only 4 wins. Correct. It's not been good in the month of June, as a matter of fact. Just look at the up and down of the way this team has played. They had the best record in baseball for the month of May, and then they struggled in June, and they had played okay leading up to the end of the month, to the end of June. That got them back to 500 for the month of June. And if you recall, I sat here on that Sunday, and John and Rick referenced it today, that they were 9 games over 500 on the 30th of June, and they were 2.5 games out of first place. And I sat right here in this seat, and we were looking at that Pittsburgh series to come and what possibly this team could look like going into the All-Star break, and then they have fallen flat ever since then. And it has been the starting pitching, and it has been the lack of offense. So those two things together don't work well for success. And we'll go on the to the phone lines for the first time. And Terry, you are on the Extra Innings Show.
Yeah, I listen to this show quite frequently, and I hear a lot of people on here say the Cardinals' only real option to bring up to start from the minor leagues is McGreevy. My question is, why can't Graceffo be brought back down and stretched out to start? He started his whole college career and most of his minor league career. Give me a reason why that can't be done.
Well, I'm not the guy I think that needs to give you that reason, because I would agree with you that he certainly has the ability. We saw him start last year in the big leagues, so it's not a question of can he do it. You're right. He would have to go down. He would have to get stretched out a little bit. As you mentioned, for his minor league career, 100 games, 75 of those games have been starts. So this is a guy that clearly has experience as a starter. I think right now they're trying to figure out a way to make any of those changes, because I think if it were up to me, one of those guys, at least McGreevy, would be in this rotation already, and that's not been the case. And as we talked about before the All-Star break, that's not a decision that is on Oliver Marmol alone. That is a group decision that, for whatever reason, they have not made it yet. And I know in reading some of the things from The Athletic, for example, from Katie Wu and from some other of the Cardinals writers, they've talked about the fact that maybe they're trying to make Fedde attractive to be moved, but I don't know how attractive Eric Fedde is to be moved when he's not pitching well. So I appreciate the call. Let's go back to the phone lines. Don, you're on Camo X.
Hey, Mr. Joe.
What's happening?
I talk to you regularly, and this team. I watch this team. I'm a diehard Cardinal fan, and I'm gonna tell you something, Joe. This team needs to be selling at the deadline. I mean, so JC could go. I don't see nothing in him, and their starting pitching is terrible. Their offense is terrible, and you know what I mean. They were on national televised, and they embarrassed themselves tonight. And basically, this team stinks, and I call them the dead birds. That's what they are. They're in fourth place, and they're going to probably finish there when the season comes. What is it, less than 65 games now, Joe? And I want to hang up and hear your comments, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it, and I think Don takes a very realistic approach to what is going on. I don't think they're like I said, I think on June 30th, if you'd have talked to me on June 30th, I felt pretty good on June 30th, but it was really for that small stretch, right? May was great, that stretch down the end of June. But I think if you look at the overall body of work, I'm not saying that there's not some chance that this team can't get in as a wild card participant. What I am saying, I'm pretty confident in saying, I think anybody would say, this is not a team built to win the World Series. It's probably not a team built to win a playoff series, to be quite honest, right? So I would agree with Don in that now it's time to see what you can get. If you are serious about looking towards the future and seeing what you have in some of your younger players, it is time to start adding to that core. It is time to start adding to what you have, not just at the major league level, but build that farm system out as well, because obviously this needs to be something that is fixed for the long haul. And I would agree with you. Thomas Saggese is somebody I've brought up on this show. And I agree that is an opportunity to deal from the major league level. Obviously, we've heard Ryan Helsley's name tossed around here a lot. And if there is anything that they can get, if there is value to be had from Ryan Helsley, I would jump on that. I'm not confident that they will sign Ryan Helsley in the offseason. And not that they wouldn't want to, but I think that he would be asking for more than they would be comfortable giving, whether it's too many years or too much money, one of those two things. So I believe, and I've said before, that if you move Ryan Helsley, you can find somebody to fill that closer's role, which, by the way, Gordon Graceffo would be one of my thoughts about possibly filling that closer's role. I think Granillo could probably be a closer as well. So that doesn't worry me at all. If you can get value then you get value. And those two specifically, Ryan Helsley and Thomas Saggese, are two of the guys that I could see them perhaps moving from this major league team. And then after that, it's a matter of you've got to talk to, whoever, president of baseball ops B or GMA from whatever team, and you've got to get creative. And that's on John Mozeliak, and it's on Chaim Bloom, and it's on this ownership and administration on what they can do and what they can move, what they believe they can get value-wise. And as we've heard it over and over again, if it's something that is more long-term, not just this year, Chaim Bloom's going to have a lot to do with that. And we've seen a shift when you look at the draft and what the Cardinals did in the draft. They clearly were after the velocity and swing and miss stuff from a pitching standpoint, which is less so in line with what we've seen over the years from John Mozeliak and that group, which has been much more pitch to contact. So we've already seen a little bit of a shift there when you're talking about what this organization might be prioritizing moving forward. And so that's where, if you're going to change the farm system around, or you're going to want to align with those beliefs, those values, kind of what you prioritize more so than another, then maybe you start changing out some of those guys at the lower level as well. Justin says he saw a report on CBS Sports. The Mets are interested in Steven Matz. Of course, they should be interested in Steven Matz. He was a Met. He was previously a Met, and he has been fantastic. That's another guy that certainly, if the Cardinals have the opportunity, you could see them getting dealt off the major league level. Jeremy Hodge says Riley O'Brien, which I think may be an answer to what I was saying, maybe as an option for a closer, although maybe he means that he's an option to be, he thinks he's an option to be moved as well. So I think either of those two things are certainly possible. Sam Foreman, for as bad as the Cardinals have been playing, they're only 2.5 games out of the wild card. It could always be worse. I agree with you, Sam, and I don't mean to sound like I'm being doomsday. I think I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic. Like I said, if you would ask me on June 30th, I sat right here in this seat on June 30th after they shut out the Guardians when they were 9 over and they were 2.5 out. I felt like this team was on the right track. And it's just, it was recency bias because they had played so well. I mean, and it was immediately dashed because that's right before they went to Pittsburgh, got swept and got shut out for three straight games. But I think overall, so I don't doubt, and I think when it's all said and done, all of us will look back and say this team exceeded expectations. I really think that. Whether they finish 10 games over, whether they finish 5 games over, and I think that's probably likely where they'll be, right? Somewhere between 5 and 10 games over 500. I think that is an admirable season from everything that we were told, from everything that we expected, from the players that make up this roster. But I think overall, and I think looking at realistically what this team is, as I said, they're not a team that's going to win the World Series, and they probably are not a team that's going to win a playoff series. Justin asks, do I think that Ollie will be back next season? I think that Oliver Marmol this year has done as good of a job as anyone for just the reasons I just said, for exceeding expectations. But here's the big kicker, is it is a new president of baseball operations coming in. I was just talking about there's going to be a shift in philosophy. There's going to be a shift in what Chaim Bloom and his group prioritizes. I can't answer whether or not he believes or they believe that Oliver Marmol is the man moving forward. Like I said, I think he's done a fantastic job with this group this year. And I think when we're all said and done, as I said, we're going to be looking back. We're going to say this was a better season than probably most expected. It was better than last year, which was better than 2023. So there's some progress being made. I think it's going to be, I think it'll be an okay season, probably. And with the outside hope that it could be a good season. It'll probably be right there, good season. So, but I don't know. I just think it has a lot to do with who's at the top, and that is Chaim Bloom after November 1st. Justin says, might get beat tomorrow, because Merrill Kelly is pitching. Yes, he's been good, 8-5 with a 3.3 ERA. We'll have to wait and see. Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Redbirds coming up tomorrow. Let's take a break here. We've still got some time, so if you want to get in, do so. I'll get you after the break, 314-436-7900. Jump on the socials. Drop me a comment. We can talk about that. We've got a little bit more time. We'll take a break right now. We'll come back with more of the Extra Innings Show coming up on KMOX.
You know Graybar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Graybar does that.
There's a big red barn where you say free. Norm's Bargain Barn. On discount windows, doors, and things. Norm's Bargain Barn.
Hi, I'm Norm Wilkie. Come see my new selection of Amish cabinetry made by my good Amish friends at Countrywood Products. We now stock 5 styles of cabinetry for you to choose from.
When you need to save on discount windows, doors, and cabinetry, come to Norm's Bargain Barn. With locations in Shiloh and Fenton at the bottom of Gravois Bluffs. Visit normsbargainbarn.com.
That's normsbargainbarn.com.
At BOS, we help you bank boldly. Because sometimes life throws bold moments at you. Like noticing someone used your debit card to buy 100 party store gift cards? That's a lot of party supplies. Don't worry, though. BOS has your back when there's suspicious activity on your account. And we work fast to address any fraudulent charges. Are you ready for a better banking experience? Then make the bold move and switch to BOS today. Visit bankwithbos.com. Member FDIC.
You are a successful electrical contractor, but you plus a dedicated team supporting your project from day one? That's taking your productivity to the next level. And Graybar can help you get there. Your relationships plus our relationships. Your capabilities plus our job site services. Your challenges plus our technical specialists. You alone can get the job done, but you plus Graybar, that's smart business. Yep, Graybar does that.
Now, back to the Verizon Extra Innings Show.
The kick and the pitch. And that ball is hit a ton to right field. The Cardinals are finally on the scoreboard. A home run for Alec Burleson, his 12th of the year. Way back in the seats in right.
That was the one highlight, really, for the Redbirds tonight. It's the Extra Innings Show here on KMOX. It is presented by Graybar. Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Joe Pott back with you here on KMOX as the Cards fall 10-1. One comment first from Verlis says, would it not be a good idea to hang on to Matz or Maton or both for bullpen or pitching depth? You can never have enough pitching depth. Yes, true. I get that. However, they're going to also provide you with a good return. Both of those two will command a nice return, probably including other pitchers. Plus, you've got pitchers that you can use from within the system. If you are at the point where you're making moves, you're getting rid of some players, you're not worried about bullpen or pitching depth because at that point you're going to see what you've got in the organization. You're going to be using a lot of arms. You're not going to be worried quite as much about winning games. And don't take that wrong because they're always worried about winning games. But what I'm saying is, if you get to the trade deadline and you decide you're definitely sellers, then you're on a little bit of a different path. So I appreciate that comment. Let's go back to the phones as well. And Richard, you're up on KMOX.
Yes, I would like to see the Cardinals keep Sadesi and trade Gorman when he's healthy for whatever pitcher we can get for Foley, Van Brown, or Mitch Keller.
I like it. That's a good thought. I appreciate the call, Richard, saying that he would rather see Gorman get moved. Perhaps, I didn't hear, he said someone or Mitch Keller. Who else? Do you know who was the other one? Okay, so Mitch Keller, one of those two. I mean, that'd be great. I think all of this is fantasy baseball until somebody says that, yes, that's a deal they accept, right? You're worth what somebody will pay you. So, and again, this injury not going to help the case of moving someone like Gorman. And I'm not saying they can't. I don't know. You said Gorman, not Sajasi. I said Sajasi, not Gorman. But I think ultimately we're thinking the same in that that's a little bit of a position of depth in the infield there. You've also obviously got the all-star Brendan Donovan. So yeah, I don't know what they'll do. I wouldn't have expected at this point last year them to move Tommy Edman, and they did, and they moved him while he was on the injured list. So crazier things have happened. Terry says there's a lot of decisions to make this trade deadline and this offseason. Not enough good pitching and offensive consistency within this roster. That is 100% correct, Terry. There is not. And I think the word that Terry used that I like, that I think is the big deal, is consistency, because you see flashes of it. We see time periods where they're better. We see stretches of baseball, times in games. It's just consistency. It's just that you do not have the roster that is positioned as it is, or the players right now, to do this on a nightly basis, day after day after day. They're not replicating that enough. So consistency is the big problem there, and certainly from the starting rotation. And I do think changes have to come to this starting rotation. I thought that before the All-Star break. I thought we'd see it. I really thought we'd see it in the last homestand before the All-Star break. With Washington, Atlanta, I felt like you had to go 4-2. They went 3-3, so not terrible, but they risk getting swept by the Braves. So I do think changes will come in this rotation somewhere, whether that's McGreevy. I don't know if it's going to be Graceffo. Somebody raised that point, because you would end up taking so much time getting him back to Memphis to stretch out, where I think they like him in this role that he like he did tonight, where he went 3+ innings, went longer than Sonny Gray tonight. So I think they like that, and I think that they would rather have him and have his services as opposed to sending him out for, let's be honest, what's that going to be, 2-3 starts? Or a couple starts in Memphis before maybe a shorter start in St. Louis, or for St. Louis. I don't know. I don't know what they would do. So I think that they would prefer like a Michael McGreevy, because it could happen quick. He is currently starting, and he has been hit hard his last couple of starts as well. Tony says this is an overachieving team. It's time to trade away some players, some prime assets, try and get a player or two that's major league ready or close to it. That's what I think he meant there. Major league ready or close to it. And I don't disagree with that. Although I might disagree with the just trying to get players that are major league ready. Because if you get to that point where you're selling, you're just straight selling at the deadline, you are moving, then what you're hoping for is the most back. And sometimes that's not going to be a major leaguer. Sometimes you're going to fill up your system as well. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying they can't. But I do understand what Tony's saying, and I think we talked about that. I mentioned that earlier, that if you get to that point, and obviously the next 10 days is where those decisions are made, and the Cardinals, just if they go on some kind of run over the next 10 days, not completely out of the question, then maybe there's some other decisions to make. But the way it looks, this is, again, not a team that's going to win the World Series, and probably not a team that's going to win a playoff series. Not to say they might not get in, because they might, but it's probably not going to be. It's the way it looks right now. It's not a team built to go deep into the postseason, and so I would agree with Tony in just that you have to be able to get some value back. You have to start loading up on the kind of players that you like, the kind of players that you think are going to be able to make an impact in this organization here coming up sooner rather than later. What's on Deck is brought to you by Chesterfield Fence and Deck, chesterfieldfence.com. It's a sign you have the very best. What's on Deck tomorrow would be the finale of this 3-game series with Arizona. Then they go to Denver, by the way. Miles Michaelis tomorrow. He's 5-6 with a 4.94 ERA. He'll go up against Merrill Kelly, who is 8-5 with a 3.34 ERA. One more from Tony real quick before we get out of here. Nootbaar, Helsley, Arenado will all give you a pretty big return. We'll see. I think everybody probably thought that Arenado was going to net you a return in the offseason, and that didn't happen. The only real suitor he had was Houston. It looked like a deal was done, and he ixnayed that. So, yes, maybe, but we'll see. That may or may not be the case. It all depends on, again, you've got to figure out with that other president of ops, or GM. You have to have something they like. They have to have something you like. So there's never a lack of surprise. Either you're like, boy, how'd you get that player back for this player? Last year, I would have said that about the Cardinals. How did you get pretty much a frontline starter in Eric Fetty? He was pitching like it. Plus Tommy Pham, who was going to give you a right-handed hitter off the bench, I should say, for an injured Tommy Edman. But they did it. Did it work out? I don't know. That is to be discussed probably. The Dodgers had the National League NLCS MVP and Tommy Edman, and the Cardinals have an Eric Fetty that was good to end last year, but hasn't been good this year. Tomorrow, 2:15 is our pregame show on a KMOX, and we'll have everything you need to get ready for that final game. Big thanks to John Rooney, to Rick Horton, to Mike Claiborne, and Ryan Schulte in Arizona. Big thanks to Daniel Hincamp, keeping us in line and on time all night long. I can't thank him enough. Thank you for joining. Thank you for calling and texting and hitting us up on the socials. I appreciate the interaction after games, and there's going to be a lot to talk about from here through the trade deadline and obviously beyond with this team and what it may or may not do. Again, I'll talk to you tomorrow beginning at 2:15. Hey, real quick, Adam Wainwright is coming up on Sports on a Sunday morning tomorrow morning with Tom Ackerman.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis, KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free